I was at a coffee shop and the whole place was full. Well, that was my afternoon tea. I was actually having a cup of coffee. And I saw one guy, middle-aged guy, sitting alone having his beer. He looked pretty friendly, so I approached him and I spoke to him in Chinese first. And then he responded in English. I asked him whether I could join him, share the table with him. He said, sure, go ahead. So he had his beer and I was having my coffee. And then we struck up a conversation. And he introduced himself as Inspector Tony. He was a former police inspector in Singapore and he left the force on a early retirement basis. So he was not working for a while and then he opened his company and became a private investigator. So he asked me what was I doing. So I told him I was with Singapore Airlines and I've retired, blah, blah, blah. And he was surprised. He said, what a coincidence. I want to ask you about a case. Do you know of a stewardess went missing, or rather married to somebody or kidnapped by somebody in Holland? And she didn't come back on a flight. So the father was worried and asked him, Tony, to investigate and try to rescue her or bring her back, because there was no communication at all between this stewardess and her father, her family. So Tony embarked on the case and he ordered another beer, and the conversation stopped at that moment. And he told me, I'll continue telling you. So this is the part one. I will tell you the story Tony related to me regarding this stewardess. It will be in part two. This is the part two of Inspector Tony and the stewardess. Let's dive into it. Inspector Tony was a private investigator. He was engaged by the father of a stewardess who went missing in Holland during her night stop. And Tony decided to embark on the project, and in the process, he took all the photographs and all the details, information from the girl's father. After which, he contacted his associate in Amsterdam, Holland, and told him exactly what to do. So his associate, in the meantime, will look out, search for this girl whose name was Janice, a Chinese girl. She could have been sold as a sex slave or a prostitute, sold to a prostitute ring. So 2 days later, Tony flew to Amsterdam and met up with his associate called TG, Tough Guy, nicknamed Tough Guy. And Tough Guy, meanwhile, has already found where this girl was located. She was housed in the apartment with a few other girls, but Caucasian girls, blondes and brunettes, a few of them in an apartment. And Tony and TG, Tough Guy, kept this place under surveillance for the next 2 days. And they found out that this place, this apartment, housed 4 girls, and then they have 2 guards, big fellows, Dutch maybe. So their work now is to overpower these 2 and then release the girls. So they did one night while they were watching TV, these 2 guys talking and drinking. Tony and TG managed to divert their attention, and they came out from the apartment and they were overpowered and disarmed. No shots were fired, and they were tied up. Their phones were taken away by Tony, and 3 of the girls were released, ran away, and Tony grabbed hold of the Chinese girl, who was actually Janice, and told her not to be afraid. They were screaming, not to be afraid, and she's going back home. That's what he told her. And straight away they went to the car, and TG drove Tony and Janice not to the airport because they suspect that the syndicate will be waiting for them at the airport, Schiphol Airport. So they drove all the way to Frankfurt, about nearly 5 hours drive. And from there, they caught a plane and flew back to Singapore. And Janice was safe. She was actually made a prostitute. The story was that she fell in love with a Dutchman, and this guy was a con man, and he took her, pretended to love her, but actually he sold her to a prostitute ring. Thank you very much for watching.